What is popping, guys? It's G, and we're back in the building. You guys can obviously see on your screens as of right now, we are doing a transfer review, taking a look at Liverpool's summer transfer window, all the incomings, the midfielders that we've obviously signed for this summer, the new summer rebuild in the midfield area, and all the outgoings as well. Obviously, captain Jordan Henderson leaving the football club, Fabinho also leaving, and various other players who have left this summer as well. Going to give you guys obviously my rating at the end of this video. Let me know what you guys obviously think in the chat. How do you guys rate Liverpool's transfer window this summer? Did we do everything that you guys wanted us to do? Do you think we've done enough, heading into the season for whatever your aims and achievements and targets are, for the season ahead? I'm going to give you guys all of my opinions in this video. Make sure you guys stay tuned, and make sure, most importantly, you guys are smashing that like button. Make sure you're sharing this content out and subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 900 subs. So guys, stay tuned and we're going to get into it.
Through the lot, now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
What is popping, people? As I mentioned before, we're here to do a quick transfer review of Liverpool's summer window. And as I mentioned before in the intro, guys, let me know what you guys think as well in terms of how do you rate this window out of 10? If you want to grade it, you can grade it, but I'll be giving marks out of 10 for this window, how I see it, what I expected going into the window, and, what ultimately, has kind of happened. But without further ado, let's just dive, straight into it. Obviously, Liverpool, we already knew heading into, into this 23-24 season, everyone's speaking about, the midfield, how we needed fresh legs in there. We needed some more quality in there. We'd seen obviously what happened in the previous season with Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago never being available, Bayern obviously coming through, and then, getting himself injured, towards the back end of the season. He had Harvey Elliott, who played so many games, under Jurgen Klopp last season. A lot of onus was kind of put on players like Harvey Elliott and even Bayern, when he kind of came, into the squad and stuff like that. And I think, with all of that, every Liverpool fans, we kind of looked at it. Obviously, we had the whole Bellingham saga, all of that rubbish. Will he come to Liverpool? Will he sign for Real Madrid? We saw the pictures, Jordan Henderson, and, during England training camps and during the World Cup, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and, all of this kind of various stuff. And I think Liverpool fans, heading into the summer window, at first, it was a case of, I think it was just more of a case of, we need to see something. We do need to see something. It's an area of the pitch that, was problematic. Just in terms of age, in terms of the mileage on some of these players' legs, in terms of availability, when you look at other players like the Oxes, the Navigators and stuff like that, Thiago, as I mentioned before. So it was like a whole bunch of things that we were kind of a little bit worried about in regards to, heading into this window. So I felt like that midfield area was probably one area, and maybe the club, and maybe Jurgen Klopp, and maybe the staff and recruitment, I think they all looked at it and they all decided that it was an area that Liverpool did need to kind of sort out, ASAP. And, ultimately, whether we agree, whether we don't agree, they kind of did that. If I'm being, totally honest with you, we had our first signing, obviously McAllister, signed him from Brighton, release clause for 35 mil. Good player, obviously signing him, from Brighton. Had a really, really good season with Brighton, obviously helped them towards achieving Europe under De Zerbi last season. World Cup, obviously won the World Cup, with Lionel Messi and co, all of those kind of stars, the Di Marias and stuff like that. And he was quite pivotal, especially towards the back end of that World Cup for Argentina. And I think a lot of people kind of saw it as, maybe this is the guy, like the new guy. This guy is coming. He's been in the Premier League, obviously, the previous season before that. Had good performances and stuff like that. And I almost feel like with someone like a McAllister as well, as much as there was a lot of fanfare, behind McAllister, I was a little bit like, not even, and not in terms of the individual player himself. I feel like he's a very, very talented individual. Just whether we were the right team, for him. Now, obviously, I'm not going to take into account the games that these guys have already played. I think it's a bit unfair. I just want to judge the actual transfer in itself. But looking at this transfer, really, really good player, really talented player. Again, it's all about profiles for me. I'm not fussed at really who we actually sign. I'm more fussed about whether or not these guys are a fit for Liverpool Football Club. Did I think this one kind of threw me off a little bit? Yeah, I probably would say signing McAllister in terms of the profile of individual, but maybe I started to think maybe it was potentially a sign that Jurgen Klopp wanted to play like a different way, and we were going to start doing things a little bit differently and stuff like that. So to help with the build up. So talented individual. Yeah, I think it was a good sign. I think the fee, of course, the fee is the fee. It was a release clause at the end of the day. It was 35 million. Anyone could have paid it, I guess, but Liverpool were the ones to do it. I'm assuming Liverpool did that groundwork, behind the scenes in order to, find out about this release clause and stuff like that. So yeah, I think good signing. Whether he turns out to be a really, really good player for Liverpool, he's got the potential to do so. Yeah, do you know what I mean? He really does have that potential to become a top class player. And I think that was kind of it. That seems to be the theme really for the Liverpool midfield. I don't think we've signed any top quality player in terms of ready right now. In my personal opinion, I don't feel like any of the signings that we've made are, signings that I would say, yeah, that goes straight into the top class level of players. I don't think we've signed any of those. I think what we have signed are players who are couple who are on the periphery, and then potential, to get, obviously better and build, with the team. And I think that's something that Jurgen Klopp really likes doing, as evidenced really by, other signings that he has made, in previous windows. So yeah, I think McAllister, that was a good signing. I'll probably give that signing itself, to include the fee, how much we got him for in comparison to, how much midfielders are going for. Probably a 7.5, to be honest with you, if you looked at the signing itself. And the only thing I looked at was just, again, profile, but also the position that he is best known for, which is obviously in that kind of left central midfield position. He can obviously play DM and attacking midfield, we know, but left central midfield is kind of the position I thought he would play. And obviously we had Curtis Jones there, but again, this provides competition, and who doesn't love competition? So yeah, I think all in all, it was a very, very decent signing, by Liverpool. Obviously, next up, we've got our new number 8, the guy that everyone is calling the new Steven Gerrard. Again, like I said, I don't want to mention, in terms of the games that have already been played. When you're looking at this signing, I was extremely, extremely excited about this one. Probably the most excited I've probably been about a Liverpool signing in a long while, if I'm being, 100% honest with you, just because of, the player that he is, someone I've been following for so many years, when he was playing for Salzburg, then obviously moved to Leipzig, and then he's, really lit it up there in a couple of seasons that he's been there. Last season, obviously had the previous season, should I say, really did have a fantastic season for RB Leipzig, able to play, as a right winger, could play attacking midfield, could play left wing, centre midfield. We've seen him, obviously, for Liverpool this season, we've seen him drop into these DM kind of positions, and stuff like that. And I think I looked at this signing and I was like, yeah, you know what, if you're going to replace Henderson, for me, again, it was all about the profile. Now, profile wise, I'm like, I think that's something I'm still intrigued to see, because I want to know, is the way that Liverpool are using him at the moment, is that the way, moving forward? So obviously that remains to be seen. But in a general sense, when you're looking at this player And obviously with the outgoings that we've had, he's a phenomenal player. He really is a phenomenal player. And I actually think it's probably one of the signings of the window, if I'm being 100% honest with you. Honestly, there's not really much more I can actually even say on someone like Szoboszlai, because he is just a fantastic player. Now, it's just, again, like I mentioned, not of the top quality level, in my personal opinion, but he's on that kind of periphery where you're like, okay, now you joined a really big club. Can you produce it for this big club? Can you help them obviously achieve their targets and their aims and whatever it is that Liverpool are trying to do this season? And if so, Liverpool really got a player, on their hands. As I mentioned before, fans already love him and stuff like that. But, it remains to be seen, if I'm being totally honest, whether he can really hit those kind of heights. And I hope he really does. I really, really hope he can hit those heights, obviously, here at Liverpool, because he is a phenomenal player, and he is a player that, I have followed, for a very, very long time. Signed for 60 million, again, another release clause. That seemed to be George Smack's speciality, at the beginning of the window. That's what everybody was saying, that was the kind of talk, beforehand, in regards to Liverpool and their transfer dealings, because we weren't really looking at anything else. We weren't really signing anybody else. So it was looking a little bit peak, if I'm being 100% honest with you, but very, very good signing. Probably give that one an 8. I'll probably, like his number, I'll give that one an 8. Obviously, moving on to Endo. Now, this one threw us a little bit. Obviously, everybody, if you guys remember, I was doing a show with Jerry and K-Mac, and then the news obviously broke whilst we were doing the show. Make sure you guys obviously check that out. Obviously, Liverpool signing Endo. Do I think Endo is a good signing? If I had to just rate the signing in itself, no, not really. I don't think he's a player that Liverpool realistically needed. He kind of reminds me of that kind of signing that you make when we were back in, still fighting for top 4 and stuff like that. Obviously, maybe that is the aim. Yeah, maybe that's how Klopp see. I don't know, but I know that's not what fans are obviously thinking, and that's not what fans want. For me, he just wasn't the type of signing I thought Liverpool could make. Even in his position and what he can do, I feel like there are a plethora of players out there in the world who can kind of do the same thing, who are of a better quality, than him. Obviously, again, not to really judge him too tough, without having so much information about Endo. But if I was to just rate that signing in itself, I'd probably give it. I'll probably give it a 4 or 5. Yeah, like maybe a 4.5 if I'm being kind. If I'm being 100% honest with you. Like I mentioned before, there are other players I feel who can play in his position, do the roles that he can kind of do, who are of way better quality than that. The fee was 16 mil for 30-year-olds after replacing him with a guy who's 29. Like I said, I just think he just wasn't my type of signing. So again, this is more biased more than anything. But he just wasn't really a player that I would have said, yeah, let's go out and sign him. But again, remains to be seen what he does. He could prove everybody wrong. So, and that's what we hope for as Liverpool fans, that he proves everybody wrong. So, we'd have to obviously wait and see, on that. And then obviously the last signing of the window for Liverpool on deadline day, and that was Ryan Gravenberch from Bayern Munich. Now, obviously, we already know Gravenberch signed for 34 million, obviously from Bayern Munich. We already know what happened with him last season. So this one was a bit of a tricky one when I was thinking about, the grades and stuff like that, because I was like, ultimately, it's a difficult one, because you don't want to judge him too much by what happened last season, but you have to take last season into account. I feel like a lot of people are not doing that, and they do think that, no, last season was just a one-off, blah, blah, blah. It might just be a one-off, but you have to factor it in regardless. Just like anything in life, you need to factor in recently, what's kind of happened and stuff like that. And then you can kind of maybe, I'm not even saying gauge things better because of his age. He's not exactly old. He's really, really young. So it's not to say, oh yeah, this is what the rest of his career is going to look like, but it gives you a little insight. Now, obviously different club, a whole different vibe, different manager, things might turn out to be so much more different for Ryan Gravenberch, a player who was, touted for the top, amongst, especially like I think it was the Golden Boy Awards, amongst all these other, really, really good players like the Gavis, the Bellinghams, the Musialas, all the players that he's kind of been in and around, they've kind of gone on. They've kind of blossomed into really, really good players, bar maybe a couple, but most of them that he was in and around have kind of blossomed. So when you looked at this signing, you were like, yeah, if he can get back to the Ajax guy, but I don't like always using that as a barometer. I hate that, really, if I'm being 100% honest with you. I hate the whole, I've got to go back to way back when he was good. No, let's judge him today. Judge him today. That's the only thing that you can do. You can't judge him off what the guy done 2 years ago. That's 2 years ago. That's too long. That's way too long. Season by season by season. That's how you get judged. That's how you should be putting players into categories. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, if a player's had, let's say as an example, the player's had like 10-year career, but he's been fantastic for 9, but he has one bad season. Obviously, you're not then gonna look at him and say, "Oh, he's been shit his whole career." Of course not, because for 90% of that career, he's had, do you know what I mean, a fantastic. It's only at 10%, so the margin is very, very small, And when you look at someone like Ryan Gravenberch, it's so tricky because yes, last season, couldn't get into the team, just wasn't a fit, wasn't good enough. Personally, I just don't think he was good enough to force his way into the squad, because we can't act like they don't play youngsters. Bayern Munich play a lot of youngsters, a lot. It's not just Musiala. You've got Matisse Tell and various few others who they've given either debuts to or allowed to kind of come into the first team fold. He just wasn't good enough to be able to kind of force his way through for whatever reason. Maybe it was just a tactical thing. Maybe just didn't fit they had 2 managers there and neither of them thought that he was good enough. No problem. Cool. So let's go back to his Ajax days. At Ajax, he was really, really phenomenal. He was really, really good. And he really did show with the type of player that he could be in the future under the right tutelage. Is Jurgen Klopp the right man to do that? Who knows? He references him as a box-to-box midfielder. Is that what Liverpool need? Who knows? Do you know what I mean? Who really knows? But in terms of the signing in isolation, I would probably say I'll give that one a 5. I'll give that one a 5. I feel like it's an average kind of signing. Yeah, I don't think it's a signing that everyone around the world would be like, oh my goodness, they got Ryan Gravenberch, because I don't feel like he's that type of guy. And he's got a lot to prove. He's already moved to one big club. It didn't work out. Guess what? You've got another chance now. Come to Liverpool, hopefully under Jurgen Klopp, hopefully in this team where it is more like a family, at Liverpool. Hopefully you can obviously move forward and, further on your career, because if you can, Liverpool really do have a player on their hands. So, you know what? It's just one of those ones. Let's just obviously wait and see. Obviously, in terms of the outgoings, I'll show you guys like the big 2, the obviously the big 2 outgoings that we had. So obviously first up we've got Fabinho. This one this one was quite funny, if I'm being honest with you. Now, not funny in terms of because he left, obviously went to Al Ittihad for 40 million. It was funny because everyone that I remember, or majority of the fans, shall we say, wanted this guy to leave. Said, yep, his legs are gone, not good enough. It was all of that kind of stuff, when it came to Fabinho, just in terms of how he is and stuff like that. He then everyone went into panic mode. And I didn't really understand it. I really, really, really didn't understand it, because you wanted him to leave. He's now left, but because he's left, you're now crying about it because you feel that Liverpool haven't replaced him, so to speak. But how do you know that, though? How do you know in terms of the players that we've signed, or the players that we were looking to sign? We didn't know that. But even with the players that we have signed, I still see people talking about needing a DM and stuff like that. And I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with that. That's more personal preference in terms of how you want the team to play, whether you think we are missing the type of DM that you guys would like us to sign. But Klopp didn't mind him going. He wanted to go. He's gone. I just didn't understand the whole hoo-ha about him leaving. I really didn't understand it. Everyone, people were relating it too much to our incomings. And I said, it doesn't matter. You wanted him to go, so he's gone. Be happy. Be happy that he's gone. Celebrate his career here and be happy. Cool. We've got 40 mil for Fabinho. Let's go. Let's move. Let's move. Let's move forward. If the club have got a plan, they either would have kept him or they would have obviously, let him go, and let him go is what they did. So listen, I rate this signing as or this sale, should I say, as a I was gonna say 7.5, 7.58. Yes, something like that. We'll stick to one number. I'll say 7.5. I'll say 7.5. Yeah, I'll say 7.5. I think Liverpool got good money for him. For me, he was kind of on the way down. I don't see the need in keeping him. Even if people still feel we need a DM, I don't still see the reason why you would keep Fabinho. I honestly don't really understand why everyone's crying about it. Like, if I'm being super honest with you, I think we should be absolutely fine without him. I don't think he'll be that big of a miss, him leaving. But then also it just depends. I'm going off the basis of the players that we have signed. If everyone keeps telling me that this is an upgrade of a midfield, why the hell do you care that we've let go of Fabinho? Doesn't really matter. Should have enough in there, if I'm being totally honest with you. And if we don't, that's then something that the staff and management team, clearly they've messed up on. If we can't get by without Fabinho, you know what I mean? Let's just be honest about it. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts behind that. And then obviously we had Captain Marvel himself, Jordan Henderson. Yeah, captain of Liverpool. Many years, what's that, 12 years, I think it is? Something like that. £12 million fee to Al Ettifaq. It's just a crazy one. Obviously took over from Steven Gerrard all those years ago. The captain who captained the side to Champions League, Premier League, Super Cup, and all these other various trophies, every trophy under his captainship. Been a good servant for Liverpool. Been a really, really good servant for Liverpool. Was it the time for him to go? 100%, just like Fabinho. Maybe with him, maybe should have gone a season earlier, if I'm being 100% honest. Fabinho, I didn't mind staying for the extra season, even though he was on a decline from the 21-22 season. But Henderson in that 21-22 season, I felt that should have gone then, if I'm being totally honest, and Liverpool should have been looking to get in someone else. But he didn't go. He's obviously left it in this summer. Obviously, in, would we say, crazy circumstances. A lot of people have a lot to say about it. Ultimately, I'll just keep it to the football. Do I think it's a good sale? Yes, absolutely fantastic for a 33-year-old player who's not good enough for Liverpool level anyway. So whatever level he feels he could be at or he should be at, he's just not good enough for Liverpool. Extremely happy that he was able to leave the football club. I'll rate this one I'll give this one a 9. Yep, I'll give this one a 9. I think it was even good that we was even able to get a fee for him. As I mentioned, he was of no use to us. A lot of people spoke about leadership. I said, nah, we're good. We're good. I think that's people are over-exaggerating the effect of his leadership within the squad. And I think Liverpool will be absolutely fine. But again, fantastic servant to the football club. Someone who's obviously been there through thick and thin, the Brendan Rodgers days, the Kenny Dalglish days. Like, he's been there through the madnesses, like pure madnesses that this guy has been at the football club for. Almost got sold to Fulham that time when we almost got Clint Dempsey. Like, it's been crazy for him specifically. He must be thinking, yo, I had the sickest time at Liverpool. Like, highs, lows, mediums. Like, he's had everything. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, just big up himself, really, man. And hopefully he just keeps doing his own thing, out there in Saudi Arabia, and we move. But ultimately for Liverpool, fantastic deal, absolutely fantastic deal. Obviously, took this picture from Bleacher Report. You guys can obviously see the incomings of the midfielders and obviously the outgoings. So obviously we had Naby Keita, who moves on a free to Werder Bremen. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who obviously moved again on a free to Besiktas, I believe, and James Milner, who's now currently at Brighton on a free. Look, all of those players, Naby Keita, Ox, obviously blighted by injuries. They showed glimpses. That's one thing I'll definitely say about Ox and Keita. They did show glimpses of the quality that they do actually possess. Would we have liked to have seen it a little bit more? Of course we would have. But unfortunately, for them, could we have gotten fees for them beforehand? Maybe so. Maybe so. I feel like that could have been something that should have been potentially sorted out from before, but ultimately we didn't really do that. And that was kind of the annoying thing behind, behind it all, was that we just didn't really get a fee for these guys. So it was kind of like, kind of thing. But you know what? It is what it is. They went on a free. How do you even rate a free? Maybe. Could we have gotten a fee? Nah, I wouldn't even give them kind of ratings. James Milner, again, fantastic servant to the football club. Again, he came in during such an important time. Do I feel he stayed one season too many? Yes. I don't think him staying last season would have affected anything with Liverpool. We would have finished exactly where we finished, with or without him. So yeah, for him to go. But again, one thing I always have to stress: fantastic career for the football club. But all of these players who left, I'm extremely happy that they've now gone. Get all of this deadwood out of the football club. Obviously, we've got Roberto Firmino as well, another one on that decline. And I said, way too many injuries, injury prone. Can't really rely on him, as we saw last season. Even when he was playing well, he just couldn't really rely on him. But again, fantastic servant to the football club. Fantastic servant, man. So I think, looking at that, Liverpool were able to obviously rebuild the midfield, and they didn't rebuild any other area, but they were able to obviously rebuild that midfield area. And then obviously taking a quick look at this here, so this is just obviously a little table that I had done previously, just taking a look at like the business that we've obviously done. So obviously got McAllister 35 M's, Zabozalai 60, Endo 16, Gravenberch 34. Those are the only incomings. And then obviously we let Milner, Keita, Firmino, Ox on a free. And then sold Fabinho for 40, Henderson for about 12. This isn't including any add-ons or anything like that. So again, yeah, we'll just take it at the face value. It might not be 100% accurate, so I do apologize, but I think the numbers are there or thereabouts. And then obviously we let a few players go out on loan. So we had Fabio Carvalho, obviously really, really tough time for Liverpool last season, just couldn't get the game time he wanted, or he thought he was going to get, arriving at the football club. He went out on loan to RB Leipzig. It's going to be interesting to see how his season goes. Nat Phillips finally has been able to go away from Liverpool. We've been keeping him hostage for way too many years, which is really, really unfair on the kid. I say kid, but on the man. But he's obviously gone to Celtic on loan. Reece Williams has gone to Aberdeen on loan. Calvin Ramsey has gone to Preston. I do believe he did pick up an injury, so yeah, that's going to be interesting for next season. Sepp Vandenberg obviously gone to Mainz on loan, I believe. And then obviously Clarkson moved to Aberdeen for an undisclosed fee. I do not know what that fee is. There are obviously other players, but I think they're all like youth/reserve players. So I didn't add them here, which puts us at a total or net spend at minus 93 million. Again, guys, please do not quote me on this. Figures might be a little bit different. So there might be a 0.2 in there. There might be a with add-ons and stuff like that, but I believe that most of this is actually correct. So I would say it's possibly between a 93 and maybe like a 97 in terms of our total net spend, but I do believe it is still under roughly about 100 million pounds that Liverpool have spent in the summer. Whether you guys are happy with that, obviously, I saw this picture online as well, which made me laugh. Obviously the old, out with the old, in with the new. Ox, Milner, Hendo, Keita, all gone. All players that everybody wanted gone. Then Liverpool got in McAllister, Endo, Zabozalai, and obviously Ryan Gravenberch on deadline day. Are we happy with the new midfield rebuild? I think I've reserved my judgment on this midfield. In terms of the players, am I happy? Yeah, somewhat happy. Somewhat happy, to be honest with you. I think a couple of them, specifically Zabozalai and McAllister. I think they're very, very good players, especially Zabozalai. It really is just about how they're going to be used now. I hope Klopp doesn't hinder them in what they actually can do. That's my biggest worry with any signing, to be honest, is Klopp going to allow them to be the player that we signed, or is he going to mold them into something different? Let's obviously wait and see, on that. But ultimately, this is the midfield rebuild. When I'm looking at Liverpool's transfer window as a whole, what would I give it? I would still give it a I would give it. I'd give it. It's between 5 and 6, so I'll say 5.5. I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. I think that for me is quite fair. We only looked at one area of the team. Do I feel, obviously, again, this is just my own personal feeling. I think it was more than one area of the team that needed to get sorted out. I still don't even think that that area has actually been sorted out in terms of the profile of individuals that he has brought in. I still think that Liverpool lack a DM, like a natural DM, a good quality one, not just an Endo kind of replacement one. I think that's something that Liverpool do lack, but then also it's tactically as well in terms of the way that Liverpool play. So yeah, 5.5 I think is quite fair. I think Liverpool missed out on, needed to sign 2 defenders. They needed a minimum left centre back and 100% either a right centre back / right back or an actual right back. I think Liverpool desperately needed that heading into the season. And also would have liked potentially someone in Salah's position with a bit more, well, not even a bit more, just better quality than a Ben Doak. I think Ben Doak is a very good prospect. Harvey Elliott, we know, can play obviously in that position. Am I confident with those two? No, I'm not that confident. Even in the Europa League, I don't feel that confident, but it'll be interesting to see. Ultimately, how are we going to know these guys are good enough until they obviously get games? Will they get the game time? I don't know. We'll obviously have to wait and see. But I think someone like Ben Doak should have gone out on loan anyway. He would have learned a lot more than sitting on Liverpool's bench, not doing much, to be honest with you, especially because we don't really rotate that much. So again, that's something to see for the season. And yeah, I think, yeah. So I wanted one more forward. These aren't the defense and midfield. I linked them together. I felt like the midfield was it was the one that everyone was making the most noise about, but they were neglecting that defense, and it only became a problem for everybody else. So from what I saw, when the summer started to go on and on and on and on, and everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, we haven't got this player, we haven't got that player," and blah blah blah. For me, I linked them both together, like equally. However important you felt you needed to rebuild that midfield, I felt that the defense was also equally as important, and you didn't do that. So I can't really give the ratings too high, if I'm being totally honest with you. Individually, we bought 2 really good players, 1 good prospect and 1 utility guy. We've let go of obviously most of the deadwood, either out on loan or we've obviously sold them. But ultimately, I think we still are quite short. And going into the season, I think looking at it, obviously we started the season really, really well. So, there's not really any complaints in that kind of regards. But I am still a little bit like, let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see, how the season kind of unfolds. Maybe a miracle might potentially happen. And then obviously we can go from there. But as I mentioned, I gave Liverpool's transfer window 5.5 out of 10. Let me know, obviously, what you guys think in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys think. Am I being too harsh? Are you guys happy with the business? And I mean, with the business that actually got, not even just the business, obviously, that just got done, but in terms of the transfer window as a whole. Are you happy with the transfer window? Did Liverpool do everything that you wanted them to do? Do you think that we've done everything that we needed to do moving forward into the season for whatever your aims and targets are? Let me know, obviously, what you guys think in the comment section. I'm G. Transfer review done and dusted. Enjoy your weekend, and we are out.